Welcome to I Scream, You Scream, your weekly scoop of the most chilling histories, mysteries, and true crime. I'm Gina.
I'm Kathryn.
Every month, we choose a new topic and a new ice cream flavor to go along with it. In November, if you tuned into our Frank and Sprinks Monster Mashup episode, yes. You will know that our flavor this month is phroggers. And to go with it, we have Ben & Jerry's Phish food ice cream, which I'm very excited about. I love Phish food.
Also, we should clarify, just for those who don't know, it's Phish, like the band Phish. It's not like, because I told someone our flavor, like in my personal world, and they looked at me like horrified. They were like, does it taste like Phish food? And I'm like, oh, this is a misunderstanding.
Yes, it does.
So like, yeah. I did not, so I'm not a huge marshmallow fan. And I didn't realize there was marshmallow in this. I know. So I was surprised when I opened it up and I saw the ratio of chocolate to marshmallow. I was like, I don't know if either of us are going to like this. But you've mentioned that you like it. And
I do.
I love a chocolate ice cream. So I'm still very excited. But I just think it's funny. This does not seem like something you would like. But you were so excited about it because you do like it.
Food.
So.
Because I used to hate chocolate, and I've kind of evolved away from that to
where
you
have, yeah.
I've had a complicated
noticed.
relationship with chocolate, but I'll eat chocolate. Yeah, I used to fucking hate it. I would refuse to eat anything with chocolate in it. Now I will eat chocolate, but it has to be chocolate and something else. It's similar to how I feel.
No, I was just going to say, that's how I'm curious what you're going to say. What are you going to say? You say it first.
Black olives. That's how I feel about black olives.
Oh, no, I fucking hate black olives. Okay. No, I do not like olives. I was going to say that's how I feel about like a whipped cream. Like I'm not a huge, I don't want just like a dollop of whipped cream on top of like a pie or something. It just tastes like sugary air to me, which like is not a bad thing. I'm not knocking sugary air. But as a dessert, it's not an optimal experience for me. I love a la mode. I like a little bit of ice cream on top of a hot pie.
Oh, or a hot brownie with some vanilla ice cream. Yeah.
My mouth literally just sounds, I'm like actually salivating when you said that. I love like a brownie or a chocolate cake with vanilla ice cream and some hot fudge, and oh my god.
Have you, I promise I'll get back to the intro in a second. Have you ever
had, like, what, we have to go have ice cream now?
We have some important shit to talk about. Have you ever had sticky toffee pudding?
I think so. I think I had it with you. Didn't we have toffee pudding when we were in London?
When we got roasts on my birthday, I think we might have.
Did we have, I know we were going to, I wonder, they may have been out of it.
I can't remember, but if you enjoy
it. No, I think we did have it because I remember I don't know.
Good, because it's something you would, it's like you have it hot with a scoop of ice cream on top, and it's the best sugary, spongy, goopy treat.
I remember ordering it. I don't remember if we got, for some reason I feel like they were out of something that night.
Yeah.
It may have been the wine one of us was drinking, actually, is maybe what I'm confusing. Either way, I can't imagine the taste, but I want to say I have. And it's because I remember being very, very excited about it, because it does sound like something I would really enjoy.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
anywho.
Forgot you guys were here. Sorry.
Oh, yes. Thank you for joining us. How long have you been there?
As a loving and gentle and humble reminder, if you do enjoy listening to us talk or watching us talk, if you're on YouTube, if you could like, subscribe, follow, leave a comment, really just let us know that you're there. We're like friendly and we would love to hear about you. And no, I'm making this weird. I don't know what to say.
Also, wait, did we say grab a spoon and let's dig in?
Nope, we didn't.
Okay, let's do that.
Hold on, let me do that real quick.
Excellent.
Okay. So grab a spoon and let's dig in. Damn, yeah.
That's good.
I like Phish food.
That's good. My favorite type of ice cream is anything with like bits of something in it. Like I already mentioned this. I don't like just one texture throughout whatever I'm eating. I like when there's a little bit of like crunch or something.
So some of you may be wondering why we picked Phish food. If you listen to our bonus episode, you will know the answer. But if you didn't, don't worry. We won't hold it against you. The reason we picked Phish food is because I can't even remember the fucking justification I gave.
remember it.
It was so ridiculous.
All Gina's idea. It's a beautiful idea.
Is it?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I only
No,
remember the one part with
I
the
remember.
yeah.
And actually, I stand by it because frogs are basically just fish with legs. If you're a biologist, leave me alone. And fish food, the ice cream, has little bits of chocolate hidden in it, much in the same way that someone might hide in your house without your knowledge, i.e. phroggers, which actually is a really good transition to the next point that I think we should hit right off the bat. So frogging is kind of a newer term. I had never heard that word used until Kathryn and I started working on this month's worth of episodes. So I think we should just define what it is so we're all on the same page right off the bat. So dictionary.com defines froggers. Frogging is the act of secretly living in another person's home without their knowledge or permission, which is fucking terrifying.
Horrifying. Literally
So
my new
scary.
biggest fear.
Same nightmare. So we don't really know where the origin of the word frogging comes from. There are some explanations that kind of trace the term back to the word frog, like ribbit frog. You know,
like the frog as we know them, the biological
the
frog.
the frogs as we know them today. Yeah. Which is kind of, it's like a reference to the fact that a person who engages in frogging may like jump or hop from
place to place.
Place to place. Yeah.
Which I just have to say, my story today is like not a true frogging by a dictionary.com definition version of frogging. So that's okay though. We're going to be lenient on topic choices pretty much forever, just because we can interpret it different ways. But I'm only saying this because it is the first episode for this topic, and I just immediately was like, fuck that definition.
I love your mug.
Okay, I was gonna mention, like, sorry, this is like the most American fucking thing ever. Look at this giant ass mug.
I love it.
Like, I bought it because I love a seasonal mug, but I like to drink tea in larger mugs because I don't like very strong tea.
I also love how this is turning into an ice cream and tea podcast. I think that's
I know,
funny.
it's that time of year. I love, so I giggled earlier when you were saying you wanted tea. You said like, I'm going to go make some tea because I want something warm. And it was like we were about to be ready to go get our ice cream. I was like, well, better get that tea now.
Yep. And now it's kind of lukewarm, so it's perfect.
Excellent.
Also, I really am in the mood to make homemade cinnamon rolls recently. That's like all I want to do.
Phil loves cinnamon rolls.
Me too.
I don't love cinnamon rolls. Oh, he gets annoyed at me for the reason I don't love cinnamon rolls.
Why?
First of all, I don't, this is going to sound so bad. I don't love like super gooey things. My favorite part of a cinnamon roll is like the crusty end.
What the fuck, Kathryn? That's the worst part. You
That's
eat
what
that
he
because
says.
you have to,
I
not
know.
because you want to.
No,
That's
you give
the
it to
vegetables of the
Kathryn.
cinnamon roll.
No, you give it to Kathryn. I know, it sounds so I like hate this about myself because I love the way cinnamon rolls smell. I love the way they smell. Like, it reminds me of like a Sunday morning. It's just not it's not what I would choose. Like, I'm not gonna like, yeah.
So what are some things that are like close to the top of your list?
So are we talking about breakfast or dessert?
Like breakfast,
because I feel like it could be either.
Specifically.
Breakfast pastry.
And I know there's a lot of wiggle room in between breakfast pastry and dessert. But
this is like, honestly,
I'm not going to give you an F, so just say whatever you want.
So it's not a pastry, but I love a bagel in the morning. I love just like a basic ass bagel with cream cheese. I was eating one earlier today, and cinnamon jumped up onto my desk and literally stepped in my bagel. And I was like, this happened while Gina and I were talking earlier, and like, I did not outwardly express how sad I actually was about that. I feel like I kept my cool.
You handled it really well. I was
so like sad because I was very hungry, and it was, so I like the bottom part the best. Yes, and it was the best I always save it for the end. I always save, anytime I'm eating something, I save my favorite bite for last. And she stepped on my favorite bite.
Are you a fan of like a cinnamon bagel? Like a sweet bagel?
I don't know. I don't know if I've had a cinnamon bagel. Okay, so actually, while we're talking about this, there is one thing that I said during the Rod episode that I do kind of want to retract because I don't want to like get in trouble or give anyone the wrong idea. I said something about like Phil like potentially not wanting an ice cream maker because he is quote a grown-ass man, and that is just so against everything that I meant to communicate. Again, this is another thing. No one called me out for it or anything, but like it's not because he's a man that he cannot bake or have an ice cream maker. It is like he specifically isn't into those things, which is funny to me. And this is what made me think of it. It's funny to me because he has such a big sweet tooth that it's like does not compute. You would think that he would be more into all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's more about the consuming than the creating, which is great because I do love baking.
You do make really bomb chocolate chip cookies.
Thank you. That's my favorite. That's my grandma's recipe. Yeah,
it's a great recipe. So, Kathryn.
Cool. Yes, Gina.
I heard you have a story for us today.
I do. I'm going to like awkwardly ease into it because this is one that just like I'm learning something about myself with this podcast. And it is like I respond weirdly to things that not weirdly, but I respond to things like differently than I like often expect I'm going to. And for some reason, this one just like really like fucked with me. And like I feel like it shouldn't have bothered me more than our previous episodes, but it did, and that is like interesting to me.
I'm kind of scared, but I trust you to guide me through this. So I'm ready.
Don't be scared. I think part of it is just this is very recent, and one of the things I'm learning about myself is I don't love like the crazy recent ones. My goal with this podcast is I'm not trying to be like an armchair detective or anything. When we're further removed from these things and when time has passed, you're able to dive into like the biography a little bit more and like their background and what has happened since. This story takes place just a couple years ago.
Oh.
And I'm like, this might be a little too recent for me.
Okay.
But anyway, so we are talking about Mauricio Guerrero. Have you heard of this guy?
No.
Okay. So the story takes place in a town called, I think it's pronounced Bensalem, Pennsylvania. It's about like a 40 minute drive outside of Philadelphia. It's got about 60,000 people, so casual small city type suburb of Philly. The victim in this story remained anonymous throughout the case. So in the court documents that I was reading through and just all of the stuff that I was reading about it, she was referred to as RN. So I will be referring to her as RN moving forward. Okay. So RN was living in an apartment in Dover, New Hampshire when she first met Mauricio. She lived about 370 miles from Bensalem. I don't know how many kilometers that is, but I'm going to say that's like a 6-hour drive.
I'm going to look it up. 370, you said?
370, yeah.
It's about 600 kilometers, 595. Okay.
So yeah, they lived about 6 hours apart and they met through OnlyFans. It started in 2021, kind of toward the end of the year, I believe. I don't know. It didn't say exactly when they met, but this whole story takes place from 2021 to like early 2022.
That's recent.
So recent, like post-COVID. And honestly, this wasn't explicitly stated, but based on everything that happened, it does seem like COVID and like lockdown specifically played a big part in a lot of like decisions that were made. And like this was kind of when everyone was going a little cuckoo and like cabin fever and everything like that. So let's take it back to the beginning. Basically, he subscribes to RN's OnlyFans account. Okay. And I don't feel like I need to do this, but for those who are listening who don't know what OnlyFans is, it's a content subscription service that allows customers to pay a monthly fee in order to access private content that a user will add to their profile. So there are different payment options. You can do monthly subscription, you could do like individual tips, and you could do a pay-per-view. Creators are paid 80% of an OnlyFans fees that subscribers pay. So, you know, if you have a $100 monthly subscription or whatever, the creator will only get $80 of
They
that.
take
That will
20%.
20%. That's very high
Feels like
in my
a lot.
opinion. It is a lot, I think. Like, I know that with platforms like these, it's normal for like to take a cut. That's how these companies stay in business. But I feel like
20%.
Thanks for saying that, because I don't know, but I feel like 20% is a huge chunk. So yeah, something to keep in mind, like throughout the story, that will again come into play. It wasn't originally meant for just sexual content, but over the years, that's what it turned into.
I mean,
that's like the platform it became. But I think that kind of corresponds with like a lot of other things that were happening digitally, and that was sort of during the downfall of Playboy. So it was kind of only a matter of time where people were gonna kind of shift the way they consume that type of content, and OnlyFans is the place, basically. So it was basically just a way for people to sell their I'm gonna say sell their product. I don't know. That sounds so bad. I'm not judging at all. Like, make your money. Like, more power to you. I'm a big fan of OnlyFans. Like, get it. That's great. I love it. But anyway, like basically, I think the takeaway for me is one thing that I did not know is it can be very personalized. Like, different creators have very different experiences for their subscribers, and it's not just like a one size fits all. Like, different people can offer basically whatever they want for however much they want. It's very much on a case by case basis. So this is where he ends up subscribing to RN's OnlyFans account, and he over time kind of becomes like her like biggest fan. They would interact on a very regular basis. At a certain point, you know, they're interacting. She's like very familiar with him as a customer. They bring their business relationship offline and out of OnlyFans. And it's not explicitly stated, but the way it kind of transpired, it seems sort of clear to me that it's likely to avoid that 20% fee, because they would still communicate via text, and I believe email or like some type of messenger. It didn't say exactly where, but I think they would still message like online or whatever, but also via text. She still charged him for content. This was a transactional relationship.
Okay.
So she would accept gifts as payment. And they still had like scheduled type of interactions, and it was very clearly, again, like he was paying for these interactions the same way he would on OnlyFans, except the difference was they were just doing it straight. They were cutting out the middleman, essentially.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Do we have a rough idea of ages?
Yes, I forgot to say that. Yes. So he, at the time this was happening, was 19, and she, I don't know her exact age. I think they left that out to help protect her anonymity, but they were around the same age.
Okay, cool. That's what I was wondering, if it... Okay, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's just kind of a general background. This is the scene. This is kind of how things get started. So that's kind of part of why I mentioned COVID, is because that was happening a lot at the beginning of 2020 in particular. Like, I say beginning of 2020, but the beginning of like the clump of time that was COVID. This is like the world that this is all happening in, and everyone's kind of freaking out, and like the world is weird and we don't know what's going on, and like brains are not doing their best at this period of time. And this is not me defending anyone. I do have to add that disclaimer right now, because this shit made me mad.
But it was a very specific point in time. It had very distinct characteristics societally. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't just any old time.
So especially if anyone stumbles upon this years from now, this explanation is very important to just where everyone's brains were and like the mindset and what was actually happening. Because again, OnlyFans boomed in 2020 because you have to also remember a lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of people were out of work, a lot of people were already on OnlyFans, but this became people's like primary income, and a lot of people started doing side hustles and like online shops and all of these things because they had to like figure out something to do because a lot of people were out of work. So that also like kind of adds to it. This, she may not have been super familiar with OnlyFans or how it works or like what was expected and like all of those things. So again, just like keep in mind, shit was weird in 2021. I don't know exactly how long they had been corresponding, both on OnlyFans and also outside of it, but my story kind of starts on December 7th, 2021. It's a brisk, breezy 40-degree day. Like, it's like your average, like, winter's day. It's like a business as usual type day. She leaves her house to go for a run in the morning. While she's out, she notices a gray truck parked outside on the corner, not that far from her house. There's a guy sitting in the driver's seat that she thinks she recognizes, and she's like, oh fuck, like, I think that's Mauricio. Keep in mind, this guy is 6 hours away, and I don't know if she knew exactly, like, where he lived. I'm
Definitely
sure,
not right outside her house. Yeah.
definitely not right outside their house. Regardless, not expecting him, she freaks out, heads back inside, and texts him. He denies being at her house. She's asking him, like, yo, there's a dude outside that looks like you. Is it you? He's like, no. She keeps pressing him, and finally she asks him to send her a picture of of his current location. So he's like, okay, yeah, sorry, it's me.
Oh
I
my
am
God.
outside your house right now. I drove 6 hours and I'm sitting outside your house. Yes. So he apologizes genuinely and is like, I don't know everything he said, but he's basically like, oh, sorry if that's weird. Like, I didn't mean to freak you out, blah, blah, blah.
How did
She
he
says,
how did he know where she
yep.
lives?
So that I have that later in the notes,
Oh,
but
okay,
I was gonna
okay.
move it up here just to kind of paint the picture. One of the things that they talked about is she had just recently moved in to this apartment that she was in. And during one of their conversations, like, she was just sharing ideas with him. Oh, like, I just moved in. I want to do this. I want to do that. Like, this is how I want to decorate it, blah, blah, blah. He asked her what she still needed for her apartment, and she was like listing it off for him. And like, as she was listing those things off, he was like ordering them for her. He asked her where to send it to, like, what address to send it to. And it was very much like I don't know how to like effectively describe this, but it was one of those conversations where it was like, oh, what do you need? Like, what can I get you? Blah, blah, blah. What's your address? So it was just like, oh, So she gives him her address for what she was considering payment.
Yeah.
Because remember, this is still a business relationship. And then he had her home address.
Yeah.
Yeah. This all comes up later, but like, obviously we're talking about a case that involves OnlyFans. Spoiler alert, lots of shaming going on in this case. And yeah, we'll get into all of that. I'm trying to maintain my composure.
Yeah, if we go down that rabbit
you
hole,
know,
I'm gonna throw my microphone across the room if we do that.
Yeah,
so I can't.
You know how well we handle that type of thing. So we're just gonna pace ourselves. But yeah, it's relevant to how he ended up where he ended up.
Okay.
So
Okay, got it.
That's how he got her address. So, he apologizes. She straight up says, that freaked me out. I did not like that. That scared me. I do not want you showing up at my home, especially unannounced. Like, she straight up says, do not come here again. 5 days later, he shows up again.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. There's no interaction between them this time, but later it would be discovered when like his phone records were being combed through. His phone GPS would show that he was in the area 5 days later. On December 22nd, so a few weeks later, he texts her to tell her that he is driving to her house. She calls him to say, no, the fuck you're not. Like, go home. I don't want you to come to my house. So he says to her, okay, fine, I'll go home. She comes back and is like, I'm sorry for saying that. You can come if you want to. He says, no worries, surprise, I'm here already. I'm paraphrasing, but he clearly did not turn around and go home. She invites him inside. They end up sleeping together. It was not clearly stated in the court documents whether or not he was on his way there because he was going to pay her for sex, essentially, or if he showed up and a one thing led to another. Yeah. And that's what ended up happening. So that's kind of where the debate starts, which I'm slowing down because I'm starting to get mad. That's where people start getting okay, well, here are all the times that she did XYZ, and now everyone's on his case about being weird. Well, why did she sleep with him if she didn't like the guy or whatever? This is kind of where that starts. Because she can do whatever the fuck she wants, and also you're allowed to expect people to follow the law, which he will break many times later in the story. Even if you say, yes, I want to have sex with you one time, that does not give anyone permission to assume an open invitation moving forward. That's not how that works. So he leaves to go home. I don't know if this was via text or phone call. Part of the reason that I keep specifying that, it does kind of come into play later because this is very much a he said, she said type of thing. And a lot of the things that were said, the context is so important, especially since this is a transactional relationship. You know what I mean? So I do think that it's very important what format things were said and the way they were stated for people to be able to understand that nuance of their relationship. Because I keep saying relationship because they did have a relationship with each other, but they were not in a relationship. So she tells him that she does not want to continue any relationship with him. She was making it clear during this case that she didn't want any relationship with him. He kind of seems to claim that it was unclear to him if it was a breakup or she was firing him as a client. There was that kind of lack of clarity on what not wanting a relationship with him meant. So they get back to texting. The flirting commences.
Okay.
Up until this point, it should have been very clear that their relationship was transactional. She was still being paid for every interaction, to my knowledge, based on what I read. She was still being paid for every interaction that they had with each other. At this point, in the kind of back and forth, it's unclear whether she's charging him for this interaction.
Is it unclear as in we do not know, or is it unclear as in they also agree that it was not clarified?
I don't think anything officially was documented.
Okay.
Based on what I could find.
Okay.
If that is what it was, that definitely was not clear to him. He's madly in love with her at this point. He straight up states he thought that they were dating, and she was like, no, the fuck we weren't. Okay. And I don't know for how long. I don't know at what point in this relationship to her that he thought it went from I am a subscriber to I am her boyfriend. But he did
actually
get
Can I ask a clarifying question? Do we know from the time that they met up until where we are in the story, do we have a guesstimate of how much time has passed?
When he shows up at her house, it's early December.
Okay.
And they had been interacting for a little while at that point. But now we are at the end of December. I think my own personal guess is that he thought when they took it off of OnlyFans I think is when he started thinking that he was like sliding into her DMs,
Mm-hmm.
where she was like, cool, I get 20% more than I was getting before.
Yeah.
I think that that was the first big misconception, because that is also when the gifts started. Like, he would send her things for the apartment and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they, like, that to him was, again, a gift, whereas to her, it was payment, essentially. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that I was going to mention at the end that I should have just mentioned at the beginning is during this trial, she does state that she was like heavily drinking at this point and not in a good frame of mind. She was not mentally healthy. And that's why I mentioned COVID, because girl, same. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people were weird. People were experiencing weird things. And like, a lot of the blame that gets put on her is like, well, why did you start texting him again? Why would you invite him over? Why this? Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? It's like, because she was fucking lost and going through shit and like drinking every night and not making good decisions. That doesn't give anyone the right to not listen to her when she says go home.
During that time was really, really hard.
That's a great point to bring up, because at some point I looked high and low for this and I could not find it. But at a certain point, she moves in with her mother.
Okay.
And which is just like 10 minutes away from where she was when the story started. We also find out that she has a small child during this.
Like,
I don't know how old.
Birth to a small child, or
no, like she already had the baby.
Okay,
like this,
got it.
Yeah, it's like not his baby or anything like that. Okay. But they're little, young toddler.
Okay.
It seems like. So that's just, again, another little detail to kind of paint a picture of like, seems like she's going through it. It seems like stuff is rough for her. I don't want to assume too much, but there are a lot of gaps you kind of have to fit in. And as a woman who's been in her early 20s and emotionally struggling, like, I can imagine what was happening, and it's not great. Yeah. You know what I mean? We're in January 2022 now, so about like a month after they first before he like since he first like shows up at her place. Somehow he like learns like where she has moved. Unbeknownst to her, he shows up at the new house. Well, not the new house, but like her, like where she has moved to, multiple occasions. Once on January 10th, and then again 10 days later. While there, he starts taking videos on his phone of just like the property and like around the house. The house has an attached barn, which I didn't know was a thing, but I mean, it's essentially exactly what it sounds like. It's like the way we have attached garages are very normal here. It's that, except a barn, just attached to the house. Yeah.
Wow, I'm obsessed with that. Okay, new life goal. Yeah. I'm going to get a thatched roof cottage with a barn attached to it.
That's where we will have our I almost said convent. I meant commune. It's too late for me. Sorry, God. Okay. So I mentioned this attached barn because one of the videos that was found on his phone was taken like through the window into the barn. Yeah. Ugh. Yes. It was like, yeah. And then, I mean, it gets worse, but this was the first one that I like, in my heart sank when I read this. He was taking a video of a poem that she had written when she was younger that was like later revealed was kept in a bag that was in the barn. So it was like, that was like how they figured out that he had broken into the barn.
Oh my God.
Also, just like the fact that he was recording the poem, I'm like,
she wrote when she was
personal.
A little girl?
When she was young, yes.
Oh my God!
And
what?
Just like,
how many layers of violation does this story have? Holy fuck!
Way deeper. Yeah, it gets way worse.
God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like so
Jesus
much worse.
Yeah.
Christ. Like literally so bad. Okay. So the thing that was weird was it didn't seem like there were no smashed windows or anything like that. So it was unclear how he was getting into this house, like, or into this barn. Somehow she finds out that he has been coming to her house again. I don't think she knew that he was actually physically in the home. But basically she finds out, cuts ties with him again. And it just, like, this was a really weird period of, there was a weird back and forth of, she would tell him to leave her alone, block him, and then feel bad and unblock him and he, like, basically got access to her again. But at this point, it didn't seem transactional. It felt like she was just being too nice. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, like, as we are made to feel. Like, it just turned into one of those, oh, he said he was sorry, maybe it's not that big of a deal, like, blah, blah, blah. But at this point, she doesn't know that he literally broke into her home. Yeah. She thought that he was just, like, showing up still.
Yeah. When you said that about blocking and then unblocking and apologizing, I smiled because I have done that multiple times.
We all have. And she's young. You have to keep in mind, like, she's literally not a child, but, like...
But that's the shit I was doing in my early 20s. Yeah. When my frontal lobe was struggling to close the gap and I didn't know what to do. Yeah.
Speaking of that, in early February, she calls him and tells him that she loves him.
Oh, loves? Capital L? Like,
loves, yes. She later, like, the next day... like early morning, tells him that she was drunk and didn't mean it. Another thing we all have done.
Yeah.
Do you feel where she is? Like, do you remember where? Do you remember this, Gina?
I feel where she is,
because I do.
And the more of the story I hear, the angrier I'm getting, because even though she's doing these things, that does not give him the right to violate her in the way that he is. I mean, nothing would give them the right to do that, but all of the things that she is doing, I get it. I completely get it. I'm not there anymore, luckily, but I understand what it is to be there.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
We've all been there, and we've all pretended that we've never been there because we're so embarrassed by the fact that we've all fucking been there. We've all done a version of this. Okay. I'm not like, there's going to be someone who's like, well, I never did that. Well, you did something that you should be ashamed of. Like, but not ashamed of. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
you did something that you
are ashamed
that you regret.
Of. Yeah. Yes. And that's okay. That's part of the process.
Yeah.
But you have to go through that to know that. And that made for a really terrible situation that we're in the process of watching escalate, and it's going to get even worse from here.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess she takes it back, says she was drunk, didn't mean it, which we all believe her because, again, that shit happens. During this time, during everything I just said, she realizes that her keys have gone missing. She can't find them anywhere for days and days. One day, they just show up again, randomly, in a spot that she did not leave them.
Oh my God. And I'm sure she just assumed, like, her mom or the kid moved them or something.
Well, at this point, she suspects that he had something to do with it.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that is a very important detail because, yes, like, if they were having a normal interaction, then yes, she probably would have just assumed kid knocked it under the couch or something and the mom found him when she was vacuuming one day. Or, like, whatever. These things happen. The fact that she immediately suspected it was him, all you need to know about what their dynamic is and, like, how he's been acting. You know what I mean? On February 8th, he tells her again that he's coming to see her. And that's also something I want to note. These are not my words. In all of these interactions, he has never asked if he can come visit. I want to be clear about that. It's always been that he stated he was on his way to visit her. It has never been like, hey, can I come see you?
Oh, I don't fucking like that. I mean, I don't like any of this, but I don't like that either.
Yeah, that, again, is the dynamic that we're dealing with here. So that's another thing that, like, it's easier to say no when someone politely asks you versus when they tell you they are doing something.
Yes, especially when you're in a bad
Does that make sense?
Space.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So he tells her that he's on his way, and she does say, like, I don't want you to come. please do not come. He doesn't respond to her. So, and I think this one is a text conversation because it explicitly says in quotes that she asks, like, you're already here, aren't you? And he says no. He says that he, like, didn't come. This is the last time that they talked. Like, this was the last that they talked about or like talked to each other in that interaction. And she has no choice but to assume that he's telling the truth, which of course he was not. That night, she wakes up in the middle of the night to see the outline of a man standing in her doorway.
Oh, that's fucking terrifying.
So, like, movie moment, like, you wake up and there's a figure in the doorway. Like,
even
that's what they
like
always say.
when we took our little pre-recording break to go get ice cream, I was walking from the kitchen to my office. Tom was in the doorway to the living room, and it was the silhouette. And luckily, like,
it's ominous.
It's like I know what he looks like, so I knew
obviously,
it was him.
Yeah, you know you're safe.
My heart rate still, I had a moment of like, fuck, you know? Okay. Oh my God. All right.
And she knows that someone has been following her.
Yeah.
And she has like
and the keys thing.
Complicated feelings about it. Yes. And like, so again, part of the reason it's stated that it, like, she saw the silhouette is like, she doesn't know for sure it's him, but like, she knows for sure it's him. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. She's tired. She's disoriented. So she calls out for her mom, thinking, like, she's kind of like, Mom, like, what are you doing? You know? And immediately this person that she sees turns and just books it. So she's like, fuck, that's not Mom, that's him. Like, immediately she's like, that's Mauricio. Like, she knows for a fact at that point. But again, she still can't see him, but she knows at that point. So she's calling for her mom. Her mom wakes up, and the RN is like, someone was in the door. Like, I saw him. He was here. She knows it's him. She's telling her mom, it's him. Like, I recognize him. Like, I know it. Like you said with Tom, like, you know what he looks like, right? That's kind of what she was saying. I didn't see him, but I know it was him. So they call the police. At this point, they don't know which way he's gone. Like, she just saw him run, and like, she doesn't know where he went. But they heard footsteps on the freaking roof. So they hear footsteps on the roof, and so they're like, I mean, I guess he's upstairs. Like, I don't know. Like, they don't know what's happening. It's the middle of the night. They're very confused. Cops get there. They catch him on the roof. He's fled to the roof, and he is holding a pair of her underwear. Yeah, so they literally catch this guy, like literally red-handed. He tells the police that he broke into the house because they were no longer together, and therefore he wanted to get the TV he sent her back.
What time is it?
Middle of the fucking night. Literally, like, what the fuck?
And also, that's still not
And he's
legal.
holding a pair of her underwear.
Like, you still can't do that.
Yes. This is the part where we're actually talking about, like, him pseudo-frogging. Authorities, to get up to the roof, they had gone through the attic, and they found evidence there that someone had been staying in the attic.
Oh.
So, in the time, like, between when he was saying that he was coming down to see her, he was already there. He sent that from her attic. I know that I think they found like blankets and maybe like a pair of shoes or change of clothes or something, but it was very like immediately clear that he had been there for like however many days. They lost track of him, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know it was
ish how long that is? What is it like?
It was a few days.
Talking days, so not weeks.
It was like 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 days. But so that's a great question, because what they suspect, again, keep in mind, this is a 6-hour drive. So based on a lot of like the back and forth, they suspect that this happened multiple times. Like, they know that he was there for sure between February 7th and February 9th. They suspect that he did like 2 to 3 to 4-ish day stints multiple times throughout this time period.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, that is totally frogging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So he had been hiding out in their attic whenever he would say, hey, I'm on my way. And he was literally just already there.
Dude, oh my God. Okay. Ew.
So at this point, it's very clearly him.
Yeah.
Basically, this is kind of when the discussions started happening about not did he have a right to be hiding in their attic, but like people started to kind of talk about like, oh, well, he was confused or like whatever, like they were in a relationship, blah, blah, blah. Because he's talking about, he made it seem that he was there because they had broken up and he was like upset and trying to get his shit back. She was like, he was never my boyfriend. He was literally my customer and like shit got weird. So he is arrested because he's literally caught in their home with underwear in his hand. So not a lot of argument can be made that he's not involved. He was charged with 5 counts of burglary, 2 counts of invasion of privacy, and criminal trespass. This is the part that like the peak gross, hate it situation. The most disturbing piece of invasion of privacy that he was charged for is the fact that he had taken photos and videos of not just her home, but also of her naked body while she slept. This was discovered on his phone.
Oh, what the fuck? Oh.
Like he'd be in the attic, come down, get a video of her sleeping, and then go back up to the attic. I don't think it was just that night. I don't think it was just the night he was caught. I think it happened across multiple nights.
And she just happened, thank God, I mean.
And she just happened to wake up this one night. And she was co-sleeping with, I don't know if she was co-sleeping, but the kid was like in the room. Like they shared a room.
He was taking videos of her while she slept in the same room as her fucking kid?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like,
that,
to our
like,
dear listeners, if this is clunky, I hope now you understand why. Like, I truly am struggling, like, talking about this.
This is painful.
Again, not that the other ones were better. I think part of what I struggle with is I felt like on the defense from the moment I started talking on her behalf, you know, because there is, like, it is like, girl, why'd you tell him you loved him? Girl, why'd you keep texting him? But, like, not in, like, I'm not blaming her. It's like I hate that people are using that against her. You know, like I don't know what argument to make other than it's just not right.
I also feel like girl, come on, like why did you do? But the way that I feel about it is like if I saw you doing something like that, I would sit you down and have a serious conversation and I would still love you at the end of it.
And it's not,
that's how I feel.
Not
but
blaming.
I wouldn't blame you for it. But I'd be like, hey, you probably don't
like,
notice that what you're doing is hurting you, but
you deserve better.
Exactly.
Like it's like I'm like, I want to like take her with us in life and like
I want to give her a hug. I understand if she doesn't want it, but oh my God, baby, I'm so sorry this happened to you.
I know. But then it's like, I also don't want to be condescending.
I know. Yeah.
like, I'm struggling. And I say that in like a, I get it type of way, you know?
Okay.
And you know what? I should say something to maybe make us feel better is so many people were like, fuck this guy. Like it was once people were like, oh, well, she was on OnlyFans that they were like, oh, I don't know. Maybe there's more than one side to the story, blah, blah, blah. I felt like it was too much of a conversation about like who's right and who's wrong because there shouldn't have been any at all. But with that being said, like it's not like an ongoing debate. You know what I mean? Like there were just an amount of assholes that pissed me off. So trial starts. Mauricio's mother took the stand very briefly and she was very emotional. She was very shocked at what was happening. Like she was not understanding how he could do this and blah, blah, blah. And she said that she tried to raise him with a respect and love. And she just did not understand like how like they got there basically. The defense. So Guerrero's team hired a therapist, who testified for the defense Their conclusion that they reached was he was, quote, very immature and lonely.
Okay. We should just let him go then.
And so I do need to be clear. It's clear this guy did everything that is being said. This was more of like a sentencing type thing. You know what I mean? Like no reputable therapist would say that warrants like an innocent verdict. The jury reached a split verdict. It was not unanimous. Basically, they couldn't agree on whether he should be found guilty for all of them. So for the burglary charges, he was found guilty on 2 of, I believe, 5 counts. And for the privacy invasion, he was found guilty of 1 count of privacy invasion, and that was for the filming the naked body. But he was not found guilty of the other count, which was for entering her room without her consent.
Why?
So I should go back to the burglary because he was, like I said, he was found guilty on 2 counts, and he was found guilty of a reduced charge of criminal trespass on 3 counts. So like they did find him guilty they found him guilty of 5 total counts, but they reduced 3 of the charges. I do think that that's the worst of it. Well, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
anyway,
God. Okay.
It's not. It doesn't get worse than that. There are still annoying things, but it doesn't get worse than what we've already covered, in my opinion. He did apologize. His apology was a joke, in my opinion. Basically was like, I hope she forgives me because I'm so lonely and I have no friends. People won't talk to me now because of the, like, it was like one of those. So anyway, the judge very specifically and intentionally specified that the sentencing had a focus on rehabilitation and recognized that Mauricio had thus far shown him, the judge, signs of like attempting to rehabilitate. The special considerations that were made in this sentencing hearing was his age, aka like emotional and like cognitive development, quote, relative lack of maturity, especially from a social standpoint.
Yikes.
Which
that's kind of a roast.
So annoying. It's so annoying because I'm like, part of me is like, the fuck does that mean? Relative lack of maturity? So what is it relative to? Like where he should be developmentally, or other cases you've seen, or like that's where I'm in like, okay, well, but he's not a child. Like he should have some type. So like I'm back and forth. I do think that COVID created a world where we all needed a little bit of leniency. But at the same time, I was also like, the average fucking person knows not to do this shit. So like, I don't know. I was kind of torn on that. And then the third one was a complete lack of criminal history. So like the judge kind of could presume that like, hopefully, like it's still far too early to know this, but based on the signs that were shown, this is not likely a repeatable thing for him. Like this likely isn't signs that it's going to get worse. It's likely the latter, like the lack of maturity and understanding of social norms and blah, blah, blah. So therefore, he sentenced him to 1 year minus 16 days served and 3 years of probation. And I will say the main thing that the judge was saying was that more important than the time he was ordered to serve was basically he needed to pass therapy. Like he needed to ace the therapy program that he was sentenced to do while he was in jail for that year, essentially. So
I think that's a good stipulation.
I think so too. And that's the part where like when I saw 1 year minus 16 days served, I almost threw my computer out the window. Yeah. But then, so I was watching, I wasn't reading this part. I was watching it. I was listening to the judge. So like this was all happening in real time. So I was very pissed. But then he got to the part about like you must meet the markers set forth in therapy and whatever other rehabilitation program like you are required to do like any parts of the therapy program. I don't know exactly what program they have in there where he was. And I say was because he is presumably out at the time we are having this discussion. I couldn't find anything on that. That's part of the reason I don't like these super new ones, is because there was all of this coverage on the case itself and like what happened to her and what he did and what they did and what she said and what he said. And there's no updates because this just happened. So
We'll have
like,
to
I don't
give an
know if he's
update
out. I don't know.
eventually, because
Yeah.
I'm sure at some point more will come out about, you know, once he's out and like, where is he now?
I hope so. But I mean, theoretically, based on the sentencing and when this happened, he should be out by now.
Like at some
he should have been out
point,
last summer.
I think there will be stuff there. And so once we find out, I think we should do
someone will dig it up and
Yeah.
do like an article on it or something.
Yeah.
But like I looked in the records and I couldn't find him. So I didn't see any record of him being released, but it doesn't mean it's not there. So this is another one. If you do know about him or if you can find whether or not he is out, let me know. I mean, I never want to talk about or think about this guy again, but if you want to let us know, I would like to be able to let other people know. Another thing that pissed me off, this is the final thing that I have, is that the prosecutors, one of the things that they wanted was for him to be required to register as a sex offender, and he is not. He was not required to register as a sex offender, which annoys me because of the personal nature of this, but legally and by definition, I do get it, but that's one of those systemic things that I do not like. Like, this was a violation, but it was not by definition
really
enough.
Like, so if you take a video of someone naked without their consent
you would
or knowledge,
think that
you're
that
not a
would
sex
be
offender?
some form of, not as far as this case is concerned.
I guess only if you're immature and lonely, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I know. I'm not okay either. Yeah, and it's hard. Like, I feel bad because I'm having a much stronger reaction to this than I did my last episode. And I feel publicly bad about that because I don't want it to seem like I was like not sensitive to the situation last time. But this one, just the nuance is hidden, I think, so much more in this one. Like the he said, she said, the way that she got blamed and the way that the sentence technically matches the crime, but emotionally for me, it does not. No one was technically physically hurt in this case, but so much unseen damage was done that it's like 1 year.
Yeah.
And
I think just going back to what you were talking about, having this episode in light of like the previous full episode we did, the feral one, I think part of it, because I agree, it feels, and obviously they are different cases, so they're going to feel different. It's
definitely not apples to apples. Yeah.
It's not whatsoever. But I think one thing that these two do have in common is that they're both, in their own way, very much products of their time. Because satanic panic and then COVID. And I think one reason why this feels like more of a gut punch. And again, I'm not saying that the feral one was all like, la la la, yay, so much fun. No, that one was also a gut punch. This is a different type of gut punch. Is because with Rod Ferrell, I think you said it was something like 1 in 12,000 reported cases in the satanic panic was true. Situations like what happened to RN, that happens all the fucking time. I think that's what makes it scary, is that this feels like something that could happen to anybody, you know?
To take that one step further, because we did mention that, like, people do get murdered all of the time. And, like, that also is a systemic issue. And it absolutely does not, like, take away from the horror and heartbreak of losing someone in that way. But I think the difference that I couldn't articulate is that type of thing feels very like, oh, that couldn't happen to me. You know, this is stuff that I am actively afraid of. Like, this is something that could happen, whether with a boyfriend or not. With like there have been, off the top of my head, I could name so many instances where I was in an uncomfortable situation with a guy. like boyfriend or otherwise, not my current one, but like, you know, whatever, past experiences where like I was afraid to set boundaries and I was too scared to say no. And shit could have very easily escalated to this, like just casually on like a Friday night. You know what I mean? Like that is an active everyday fear, you know?
Yeah. This was a tough one.
Yeah, I hated it.
This
so
was
much.
like all of the like ingrained fears you have as a woman come to life.
Yeah. I'm so sorry if our numbers tank for this episode. I do not blame any of you. I'm so sorry.
But thank you for being willing to, because it couldn't have been easy to read that and research it and then talk about it. So thank you. But also, ow.
You're welcome. And I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, I'm over here like, fuck, I can't imagine / can imagine like experiencing it. So like researching it, as awful as we are feeling right now, I'm like, I can't even imagine experiencing it.
Yeah. God.
But like but can't, you know?
Yeah. I think I might put some rum in my ice cream for the next one.
Oh yeah, so unfortunately we have to like rate our ice cream now.
Oh my God.
If you like what you hear, rate and review.
Oh my God. I don't know if I know.
Sorry. I told you it did not get better.
I mean, listen, guys, if you want to rate and review, like and subscribe, that's awesome. If today's not the right day, we get it. It's totally fine.
Maybe don't do it after this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how'd you like your ice cream, Gina?
I feel gross saying it, but it was really fucking good.
Yeah.
It was
definitely
really,
better
really
than
good.
my last one.
Same.
Yeah, let's just try to I have to go to Phil's grandma's birthday party now.
Oh my God. At least I get to go to bed.
Yeah. So well, you know what's this is funny. Originally we were going to record this episode earlier and then we were going to do our Halloween happy hour today. I say that because I was like, oh, cool. It'll be like a nice little fun pregame before Grandma's party. And then we switched the calendar back. And now I'm like, oh no, I have to go be happy with my in-laws after this.
Oh, here. One second. I'll find a joke.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That would be helpful.
Okay. A little bit of something better and that feels good in my heart. One moment. What do witches put on their bagels?
Ooh, I want to guess. Hold on. What do witches put on their bagels? I don't know.
Scream cheese?
Oh, I got it. Last second.
You got it.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. How about...
It was a buzzer shot.
What do you call two witches in a haunted house?
Gina and Kathryn having the best time.
Ayo! No. Broommates.
Oh, okay. Wait, I thought you meant going through a haunted house. I was like, well, how does that make them roommates? They live in the... Gotcha. Roommates. Okay.
Yeah.
Hit me with one more. Oh, God. Or not?
No, I love this one.
I want this one. Oh, okay.
I'm going to tell Tom this later. What do you learn at which school?
I don't know.
Spelling.
Oh, wait, that's so cute. Okay, that's a good one.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Good.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So now if you like what you
hear,
please rate and review. Like and subscribe. And yeah. Any last words? I don't know. I kind of just took over the outro for you.
I don't have any last words. I'm going to go sit with my feelings for a while and honestly maybe have a little bit more ice cream and then I'll text you later.
Yeah. Do it.
But anyway, until next time, little spoons, keep it cool.
Keep it creepy.